Hey there, and welcome back to Crafty's Playzone, specifically the game's expansion, Reuploaded, which promises to tie up the story and answer some of the biggest questions that remain from the base game, specifically revolving Sam and Charles, the co-owners of Crafty's-Hq. If you have not seen my story breakdown of the main game, I highly suggest watching that first. The link will be in the description and top right. An unclear amount of time after the ending of Crafty's Playzone, which had us attempt to disable the database that Sam used to manipulate his employees and even trap/terminate them, we awaken within the database. As we walk through this distorted database, we find messages telling us to follow the trail, repair the breakers, and shut down the database, until we see someone walk off in the distance as the door shuts behind him. With that, a message on the wall from someone else, asking Ethan to come out. This is from Chris, the employee obsessed with Ethan, who's been looking for him within the database for years, according to his audio tape. You make your way past the room where you took down the database, and walk up to one of the termination pods, and enter it. Then this random boot menu appears, with options to activate movement and vision. Sounds odd, but considering you were physically put into the database, I guess, to begin with, some oddities are expected when trying to escape it. That's when you wake up in the middle of the security office you used to work in, but it's seen far better days. As I said, it's unclear how long Crafty's has been in this condition, which makes it all the stranger that your body was just left here as if nothing happened. Charlie returns here to instruct you on how to use the help point behind you in order to restart the breakers and manage the animatronics that are still around, though they've also seen better days. You're provided with a handy Crafty's blacklight flashlight that'll be crucial for dealing with the animatronics, thanks to its two flashlight functions. As you repair the breakers, you'll need to routinely check on the windows and doors for any visitors. Crafty will visit via the front door, and you just need to flash your light at him. If he doesn't go away, then switch to light mode. Oddly enough, this data version of Crafty should only be in the database. As for Mama, she'll slowly get closer to the window in phases, and you need to use the flashlight to make a retreat. Just make sure you're using the right flashlight mode, similar to Crafty. To charge your flashlight, simply head to the closet on your right. Once you've finished resetting the breaker, the lights go out. Now, you need to retrieve the security node to complete the system restart, which will reside within one of the three cubs. Your blacklight will reveal the security node and must be left alone until they get close to you. Your regular flashlight, on the other hand, will be used to deter the other cubs. What's strange is that on occasion you can actually find a secret message written all over the walls. Find the truth, don't believe who you are. I'm sure this isn't anything to worry about though. Once the security node gets close enough, shine your blacklight at it, which will complete the system restart. This opens up a minigame titled The Toy Maker's Turmoil, where kids will walk up to you and request a toy, which you must retrieve from your toy box. Just don't keep them waiting too long. After completing this minigame, the toy maker receives a visitor. Hello, toy maker. It's your old friend, the inventor. I know you retired years ago, but let's bring back the magic of your old toys. This place is getting a bit run down after all. How about I take your old toys and make something amazing out of them for the whole world to enjoy? Seeing this minigame had me pretty excited, because it confirmed the theory that I had made regarding the 5th Mama Storytime tape about the inventor and the toy maker. This tape in the base game is really an allegory for Sam and Charles Cartwright, the co-owners of Crafty's. And I theorized that this tape was actually about the relationship that both Sam and Charles had, which would help explain Charles' disappearance. As a TLDR, the inventor approached the toy maker about creating a new toy out of his old ones, and after doing so, the toy maker decided he wanted nothing to do with the inventor and disappeared, leaving the inventor to have a successful career and life. Considering Cartwright's suspicious death, as mentioned in the base game, I figured that the tape had to be an allegory for the events/relationship between Sam and Cartwright. Now, once the lights come back on, you need to repeat the process once again with the breakers. Only this time, there are 2 dials you need to control instead of 1 while restarting the breaker. Not only that, but Trixie will now make his approach very loudly to the front door. Using the correct light mode will send him back, but he isn't guaranteed to stay away. If he immediately returns, switch to light mode and make him go away again, and repeat this process until he stops returning. As for the security node portion, now the cubs will attempt to change the security node's location by messing with the hell point behind you, so make sure to keep an eye on that as well. Should you find a cub trying to mess around with it, flash your light at it. Now the second part of the Toymaker's Turmoil minigame introduces even more toys for kids, though you can tell the shop's changed quite a bit, from the digital clock to the cash register and even the promotional poster for new toy robots. The inventor's changes have already taken effect. Excellent job, Toymaker. Profits have gone up considerably, but it's still not enough. We have more work to do. Now on to our third and final breaker, where database leaks will start popping up when using the blacklight for extended periods of time, and will drain your battery even more so. You even have a third dial to worry about as well. I'd recommend using the blacklight occasionally after getting rid of both Mama and Crafty, or Trixie if they appear immediately, and deal with those database leaks, which are represented by Prototype Crafty. As for the final security node, the cubs will now start messing around with your flashlight, changing the flashlight mode unexpectedly, so be careful not to shine it at the security node too much. Finally, the third part of the Toymaker's Turmoil minigame, which has undergone even more changes. Welcome. Again. There's a paint box now. Just go ahead and paint the crap old toys. The lovable toy shop the Toymaker once knew has now changed into something unrecognizable, more corporate than ever before. Even as you play through this minigame now, the music in the background slowly dies out, distorting, as if the magic this place once had fades away. I know somebody is there. I feel your presence. I don't know who you are, nor do I care. You've heard half my story, but this is how my story ends. This is the story of how I died. The story of Charles Cartwright's death, a mystery that has been unsolved for quite a while now, as far as the public knows. First off, Cartwright speaks with Sam at the show stage. "Charles, my good friend, doesn't he look great up there?" "He definitely is something, Sam, but couldn't he have been a bit less frightening?" "Well, beggars can't be choosers. Could only work with what I had, money-wise, of course." "I'm still not sure about all this." "You've been saying that for weeks, Charles. When are you gonna move on?" "Look, this customer trial is going great. At this rate, we'll be open in a month or two, and this business is almost top of the town already. I'm doing wonders for this place. And you too, of course. Couldn't have done any of this without you." "That's just perfect. Look, I've got to go fix him up quickly. Can you check up on the customers while I'm gone?" "Fine, but we're discussing this later." Even from their first interaction here, it's clear Sam sees Cartwright as a limitation rather than an asset, and only thinks about the success the establishment can have. If you're interested in seeing a lot of the different interactions between Cartwright and some of the customers and staff, I suggest watching my video on the expansion if you haven't already. The link to the playlist will be in the description. In general, a lot of these interactions are miscellaneous, so I'll try and sum it up more generally. Overall, it's clear that this place is not what Cartwright envisioned when he first teamed up with Sam. You have arcade machines priced at $1 when the norm was 25 or even 50 cents, grand prizes not being awarded to winners, and overall creepy designs for animatronics that fail to appeal to kids. Everything about the spirit of Crafty's was ripped away by Sam's obsessive desire with success. Even the staff are afraid of Sam, who will force them to skip their breaks. Cartwright, however, is the opposite, looking to cater to the needs of both his staff and customers. Interestingly, one of the customers Cartwright talks to is a mother with 2 sons, Ethan and Peter. While the name Peter isn't mentioned in the game at all, Ethan's name is certainly familiar. Could her son be the employee who eventually gets trapped in the database? As Cartwright makes their way to the back of the establishment, he finds some doodles he made for Mama and Trixie, who were originally for a cancelled cartoon. Despite the love he has for these characters, he doesn't want them involved with the business, due to the close ties he has with them, especially Mama, who's based off his own mother. Considering how the designs for Crafty have already been butchered by Sam, the last thing he wants is to see Trixie and Mama butchered as well. A newspaper clipping on the wall reveals that Sam and Cartwright's business is actually second in the town of Hurricane, coincidentally, with Fazbear Entertainment taking that top spot, which left Sam rather angry for this perceived failure. Cartwright, on the other hand, never really cared about all that. A lot of minor details back here revealed the beginnings of Crafty-Hq, and even the fates of some employees. For instance, Sam conceptualizing the database system that would be used in Crafty's HQ. Adam, a new employee here who will eventually be terminated by the time we start working at Crafty's Playzone. On the floor, a box of game cartridges, including one with a penguin character, resembling the Pippi's Hungry minigame from the base game, which was used to get into the database. These cartridges are the games that Crafty's HQ would rely on to make this whole database system function, and was even used sometimes to upload employees. The spare parts that would be used to create the prototype Crafty, which Cartwright couldn't tell if it was actually designed by Sam himself or sourced from somewhere else. But finally, he confronts Sam. "Can I help you, Charles?" I said we'd talk about this later, and it is now later. "I'm busy fixing our biggest moneymaker. Maybe this should wait?" "I really don't think..." "What don't you think, huh? Do you not think that any of this is worth it? Do you not think this will work?" "Well, spit it out, old man." "I'm done." "Excuse me?" "I said I'm done. With everything. With the establishment. The business. You. It's too much for me, Sam. We're handling my life's work. The things that are closest to me. And you treat it all like dirt. A vessel to forward this sick money-making scheme of yours. I know businesses need to make money, but this is getting out of hand. I want you to remove my mascots. I want you to get rid of it all. I'm done." What's so funny, Sam? Is this really how it ends? Like this? Well, maybe it should end, before things get any worse. But we haven't even started, Charles. We could reach so much higher than this, you and me. The only thing standing in our way is our incompetent staff. But this new Springlock suit will be revolutionary. Sam, tell me, did you make that? Pfft, of course not. You think I'm that smart? I swiped a couple Springlock blueprints from that diner down the road. You mean... Oh no. They didn't even realize. Absolute morons. That's not my Crafty. Built on the back of plagiarism. Get this thing out of here. Wait, don't touch that! Charles? Charles! Oh my god. What happened? Should I call someone? Or what do I do? He's not breathing. Jesus, it's all my fault. What did I do? We were good friends, right? We had good times together. Had a lot of laughs. I grew up watching reruns of your cartoons in our apartment in New York. I still remember how we first met. overhearing that conversation you were having with the barista over at the old cafe. I couldn't believe you were the one who made those amazing films. We used to get along so well. I'd tell you all about my next big idea, and you'd support me all the way. What happened to all that? I guess someone became selfish. You became selfish. You never had to shut down everything I did, Charles, but you did anyway. It's almost like you wanted to see me suffer. Maybe this was destined to happen. To help me. Right then, I know what to do now. Time to start this business properly. I had to show you everything. It hurt so much to relive. We were such good friends, Sam and I. At least I thought that was the case. I've been watching him taint my life's work for decades. The whole time I've been stuck watching the horrors unfold. All these years I couldn't tell anybody about this. Until you came along. You restricted my power and sealed me in this building. But somehow, you managed to resurge the suit and revive me. If you want to stop everything, if you want to stop him, then we need to work together. There's a little something I've been creating all these years in case a chance like this ever came along. It's called Cartwright.exe. It's a virus that'll lock the whole system up. If you can get through to him and upload it, then there's a chance to stop everything, once and for all. I don't know who you are, but you have to trust me. Please, help.
System restart successful. All breakers are now online, and power has been restored. Crafty-Hq would love to see what your current thoughts are on our tech support service today. Have we been useful? Have we given assistance in a timely manner? Have you been completely safe and under no danger at all during the task? Press one of the faces on your help point now. We're glad that our service has been top-notch for you today. We strive to be as helpful as possible for our employees, and will continue to do so in the future. Thank you for your response. Your feedback will be promptly sent to our CEO for analysis. Warning! Visual and audio perception software has been detected. Section 8 of the Crafty-Hq protocols state that this software is banned by all unauthorized personnel to prevent tampering with all electronics. Deactivating.
Your eyes do not deceive you. This whole time, you've been controlling Prototype Crafty. The whole premise behind this expansion was odd from the start. Waking up in Crafty's playzone after an undisclosed period of time as if nothing happened to you after the game's ending. Your ability to see the database versions of the animatronics, the security nodes, and waking up with this handy 2-mode flashlight. At the very beginning, we powered on the Prototype Crafty animatronic after entering that pod, and inadvertently activated the audio and video perception software that would fool you into thinking you were in your own body. While this software is supposedly banned for unauthorized personnel, it makes you wonder how else this technology was used in the first place. Some employees ended up uploaded in the animatronics, and maybe, to some extent, they thought they were in their own bodies as well. In the base game, Bethany made a point about how these animatronics were so human-like, and she might have been a lot closer to that idea of the animatronics being human than she might have expected. Of course, there's no proof of this, but it's an interesting idea, and rather creepy when you realize how it can be used against your will. Regardless, now the breakers are active, and you just need to upload the virus to the database.
Attention! CCTV systems are now partially online. Currently, our database system cannot be found. Luckily, a wireless connection to it can be created from your camera system's visual feed. find the database hub on your cameras, then click and hold it with your cursor to perform this.
As if it were that simple, because this endoskeleton just made the database mobile, and in order to connect to it, you must locate the database on the cameras while fending off Crafty, Trixie, and Mama same as before. By the way, I love the added details of our character robotically moving to the doors and windows and charging themselves in the closet after this reveal. Once you've wirelessly connected to the database, the virus will begin uploading via the help point.
Networking task can now be performed on your help point. When in contact with the database hub, shine your backlight directly onto it to upload this program.
But the endoskeleton will not allow you to complete your mission. When it's at the doors or windows, shine your light at it, switching between regular and black light when needed, until it is complete. Once the upload reaches 100%, execute it. You finally leave the pod and are back in the database. Honestly, all of this makes me wonder what happened to our body after all this time. As we follow the trail, we find another person standing by the room where we attempted to shut down the database the first time. Hey there. My name's Ethan Jones. Not sure who you are, but thanks for following my messages. You know, the ones that led you to version 0's pod back there and caused you to go hell and back? Yeah, sorry about that. It had to be done. I understand that you probably don't know who I am. I knew about what this company was doing years ago and tried to stop it myself. I lost my brother. I lost my new friend version 0. I lost my freedom. I even had a crazy manager stalking me. But eventually I got caught and stuck in here. With your help, we finally have everything shut down. I've already talked to version 0. Charles. That'll take some getting used to. Anyways, he's waiting for you up ahead. I have some unfinished business with somebody. And once again, thank you. You're the true hero here. And that concludes Ethan's involvement in the story, which I want to touch upon a little here because their inclusion in this game, along with a few other characters, is handled quite differently compared to Sam, Charles, and the other characters that were present in the base game. According to a comment from the developer, Adam, Peter, Ethan, and Chris, all characters that were somewhat mentioned in either the expansion or main game without any major rules, were originally part of an audio story by Crafty-Hq, the game developer, called Black Bear's Picnic. This audio story would eventually be cut short after its first act, and then had the story told through the format of a game, Crafty's Playzone. While the roles of these characters were initially very important in the audio story, like Ethan attempting to shut down the company a few years ago, that all changed during the time that Crafty's Playzone takes place, since they're all either terminated or stuck in the database, so their roles in the story got pretty diminished compared to the audio story. Now honestly, after hearing the first and only act of Black Bear's Picnic, I was conflicted about whether I should go more in depth regarding this audio story. On one hand, it provides a lot of interesting backstory to the very first Crafty's Crafts where Sam and Charles worked, along with Chris, Ethan, Peter, and Adam. On the other hand, I was worried it might end up being too much of a diversion from the story of Sam and Charles here in the expansion. So I decided on a bit of a compromise. If you want to hear the audio story for yourself, it's in the description, the full playlist. I highly recommend it if you're interested in hearing more about the world of Crafty's HQ before the events of the main game. I'll try and cover the main events that happen throughout the audio story, specifically focusing on the ending, though I still suggest hearing the audio story for yourself. So, what is the significance of these four characters and their roles, right? We have to start at the beginning, with 1985, Ethan, a 17-year-old teenager whose main hobby revolves around robotics. They find their way to Crafty's Crafts, which were looking to hire someone to restock art supplies and do some janitorial duties. That's when he meets Adam, who's only been working there for 2 months, near the time frame when Charles dies, as he was a new hire by the time Charles ended up dying. This is also when Ethan meets Chris, a rather eccentric manager who's obsessed with the crafty animatronic, to the point where Adam suggests that Ethan should never speak about the suit with him. As Ethan was about to leave, he climbs up on stage and looks behind the curtain after noticing a burning plastic smell. That's when he finds Chris, who thinks Adam is watching him and warns him to leave. Adam briefly mentioned that he witnessed something about the suit that he cannot say, which is probably what Chris is referencing when he tells him to stay away after watching him again. He even mentioned that once when he was wearing the suit, it started moving on its own, even though that shouldn't be possible when it's in suit mode. Overall, this had Adam pretty spooked, especially considering he never remembered what happens after he wears the suit until he gets home. One day, Ethan brings his younger brother Peter to Crafty's Crafts to apologize to a girl that he's been mean to recently, but eventually leaves him alone near the stage as he searches for the girl. That's when Peter notices the same burning plastic smell, one that comes from the Crafty animatronic backstage. As he investigates, he finds Adam trapped in the Crafty suit, begging to be freed. When he notices Peter, he warns him not to breathe in the smell too much, but inevitably Peter falls unconscious. When Chris enters backstage, he calls Sam and notifies him that a kid saw what's happened with Adam. Unfortunately, even a kid had to be dealt with somehow. Adam learned about the suit's technology messing with his head, and eventually gets uploaded into the database system using the prototype Crafty suit. Peter's fate ends similarly, as he's uploaded into an arcade game while his brother watches. Ethan then confronts Chris before fleeing and leaving Adam in the suit. Now at this point, Ethan and Chris have quite the conflict, considering Ethan's also now witness to what happened to both Adam and Peter. A few days later, Ethan would go break into Crafty's Crafts and bash the Crafty animatronic with a bat for what happened to Adam and Peter. However, it comes alive, since Charles would eventually come to possess it. After befriending it, he brings it home and calls it version 0, only for it to be repossessed in the middle of the night. Months later, he steals it from a warehouse after a tussle with Chris, who attempted to kidnap him before he was saved by his father. Yes, his father was helping him steal version 0 back, and his mother ended up accepting this as well after the fact. I mean, literally, they initially left to go out for a drive, ended up going in a bunch of detours, got Crafty, put him in the car, brought it back home, and Ethan just tells his mom, yeah, look, this is the animatronic I got. Then there's a 9-year time skip where version 0 was living with Ethan and his parents, up until 1995. They eventually had moved out of state in order to evade Sam and Chris. With that, can I just say, these two parents must be the most enabling parents I could imagine in a scenario like this. Ethan stole company property twice, mind you, and when he brings it back, with his father not really opposing it, his mother accepts it and then proceeds to live with it for almost a decade. In 1995, Ethan starts thinking about moving out with Crafty, and has led a peaceful life for a while, though Peter was never found. That's until a letter came in the mail from Sam himself, personally inviting him to Crafty-Hq, threatening his family if he doesn't comply. Once he arrives, he meets Chris once again, who's still as obsessive as ever with regards to Crafty-Hq, but oddly enough has no recollection of Adam or Peter. Effects of the termination room, no doubt. He then meets Sam, who explains how Ethan's actions have set the company back quite a lot. He even explains the nature of the database system he's created, and how it uploads the leftover consciousness of inactive employees for every Crafty's establishment to access. This is how their arcade games and animatronics were so interactive and advanced. He then explains that there's a virus that's been laying dormant in the database system, eating away at its code, and Ethan must go inside the database and destroy it manually. To help convince him, a familiar voice reaches out, Peter, from a machine. This attempt fails to convince Ethan, however. After some nostalgia from Sam about watching cartoons of Crafty's back in the 30s in his New York apartment, he connects version 0 to the database, causing it to seize, and it slumps into inactivity. He offers Ethan one last chance to enter the termination room, with a familiar smell of burning plastic. Ethan reluctantly sits in the chair and enters the database. Walking through the database, he makes his way into a room where pods were lined up along the walls, containing people trapped inside, asleep. These pods had tablets referring to their mascot version and employee ID. He had found Adam's pod among the others and opened it, releasing Adam from the pod, who wakes up and embraces Ethan. He also finds the pod for version 0, but cannot see who's inside the pod and is unable to open it. Adam and Ethan make their way to a section called Database Integrity, where they find proof that the database virus never existed. Ethan was tricked into the database, and he was never getting out. He then hears Peter's voice again, and talks to him. They have quite the heart-to-heart, and Peter reveals that after some time in here, he had an incident that now forces him to move from room to room, or else he gets dragged away. He's also unable to see anything in this state. Then, the database integrity begins dropping, due to a database leak. That's when Ethan takes this chance to try and follow the cables and escape via the leak. All of a sudden, however, he stops, when provided with the opportunity to discover version 0's identity. After some protests from Adam, they make their way back to the room with the pods, and find a new pod that's glowing. As Adam punches through the pod, Ethan finds out that he's the one being backed up in here. Meanwhile, Adam's hand now starts distorting, corrupting after his punch. In the midst of all this, they begin to argue about Ethan's attempt to stay here, trying to get Adam and Peter out. But after enough resistance from Adam, finally decides to leave. Ethan wakes up in the real world again, and encounters a bunch of animatronics who realize he's an unauthorized trespasser. Before they can get to him though, version 1 of Crafty, the suit that Adam was put in, stops them all and helps him up. By stop them all, he really just tells them to leave him alone, but that's pretty much it. He leads him away and talks to him privately about how he escaped. From what Crafty says, the animatronics are on the edge of sentience, of humanity, because of the personality/consciousness that's uploaded into them. They're aware of the people that were uploaded into them as well, but they're forced to perform as entertainers. It's actually quite funny how human-like the animatronics are here with their voice acting and everything. When Ethan notifies them that he arrived with the prototype suit, the animatronics are left in disbelief because of the person that would go on to possess that suit. Before they can explain, however, they all return to their stage due to footsteps nearby. That's when Chris enters the room and brings in the version 0 suit. As he looks around, he eventually spots Ethan hiding under a desk, and they fight, colliding into nearby servers until they start sparking and bursting into flames. This gives Ethan the opportunity to run away, while Chris sounds the alarm and chases after him. But Ethan makes his way to the parking lot before the doors close, and he runs to his car. Finally, Ethan escapes, and Sam reprimands Chris for allowing him to escape, to the point where he feels like Chris is no longer needed, despite Chris's protests. That's when he makes a deal with Chris, to track Ethan down, or else be terminated. And that is the ending of the first and only act of Black Bear's Picnic. Quite a lot, to be honest, but it honestly is a rather detailed prelude into the events of Crafty's Playzone, and honestly helped me explain some of the finer details regarding the database and termination technology that Crafty-Hq uses. It also shows how involved Ethan was in the story leading up to this game, and how his role caused Sam to put Charles back into the Prototype 0 suit, which allowed us to bring him back in the events of the game. It also made me realize that, in a sense, every employee that was terminated still exists in some way inside the database through those pods, and through the animatronics. Of course, based off the events of the game, we know that Ethan would eventually be captured once again and trapped in the database, as he's been there for years and being chased by Chris. But now, back to Sam and Charles, where we finally open up a yellow pod alongside Charles.
Hello, old friend.
Charles, but how'd you do that? Let me back in, now!
There's no use. Everything is offline now. So this is what you've become, huh?
You don't understand. I had to do it. Everything I worked for was failing, and I was dying.
So that means you had to give up your humanity? Just to see a couple more years of a business that you knew was failing?
What do you know, old man? You were the one who tried to sabotage me from the beginning.
All I wanted is a normal life, Sam. Now, does all of this really look like a normal life to you?
Says the one who's been stuck in that suit for 4 decades.
Not out of my decision, though. You, on the other hand, chose that path yourself. I understand that my death was an accident, but you did nothing to help me that day. I still remember when you discovered that I was in that prototype suit, and discovered the miracle of uploading into hard drives. You modified my suit into something that still sickens my stomach to this day. Oh, you wouldn't believe the screams I heard when they wore my suit. I never realized that technology would end up causing this whole mess.
But I was just curious.
Just look around, Sam. Look at it all. This place is falling apart. We're falling apart. It's over. It's not coming back. You need to let it go.
No, I can't. It's all I am. How will anyone remember me in the world if I'm not successful? I'm not like you. You're perfect. You always were.
But I'm not. Nobody is. There's something I never told you. My cartoons failed back then. They were pulled from theaters within a year of release. And I fought so hard to bring them back. But everyone had moved on. It hurt so badly. I felt like a failure. Besides, I shouldn't have agreed to the business in the first place. I should have been more transparent. And I'm sorry about that. I just think we should be remembered for the joy and whimsy we've shared. Not just the success and fame.
But it's not fair.
Look, you should be dead by now. And I should have died a long, long time ago. We both shouldn't even be here. Our time's up. Let somebody else in the world carry on without us.
I can't do it.
People have been lost, Sam. Families have been left broken. All of those employees had hopes and dreams just like you and me. You went too far a long time ago. We can't give you any more chances. The others certainly won't, at least. You're part of the database's framework, and I have everything locked up. We're at a standstill. If we both give ourselves up, then that will clear the framework. They could claim this place as their own. The least we could do is give them the life they could never have. What do you say?
But
Sam, please. They need to live again.
Alright. I'll do it. Oh my god. What have I done? I am so sorry, Charles. And you there. And all of the others.
There's the Sam that I first met.
And there you have the definitive ending of Crafty's HQ and Crafty's Playzone. Overall, it was quite a wholesome ending, which I wasn't really expecting when I first played through the expansion. We have this heart-to-heart between Sam and Charles, which revealed quite a few things. For one, Crafty's HQ was indeed failing for years now, and Sam himself was dying, which is why he uploaded himself into the database to live on. And then we learn more about his motivations, right? His hunger for success all stemmed from this idea that he wanted to be remembered. He believed that all he had, all of his value came from being remembered. Similar to how he looks up to Charles, right, for making those cartoons. Yet Charles even reveals to Sam that even he was a failure at some point, but he didn't let that derail him in any sense. He was happy with his little toy shop long before Sam ever approached him. And to see them hug it out after Sam agrees to just let it all end and then just fade off into the distance with this end screen of all the characters that were from the base game and the expansion in a picnic area of all places. A bit of a nod to the audio story. It is once again a very wholesome, positive ending, which is uplifting to say the least. But of course, with all that said, I hope you did enjoy. If you did, leave a like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you enjoyed from the video and what you want to see from me. I want to give a huge thanks to all of you. I never imagined I would actually get to making like 25 videos of these. I never imagined I would actually continue putting in the effort to try and produce these videos as much as I did just when I first made that first one. And I just want to say thank you, because even though it's not the same kind of gameplay video, it's a lot more story focused. It's a lot of me talking and showing bits of the game that I've already shown before. You guys seem to really enjoy it, and it warms my heart that I can still make these videos. So thank you. And with that said, I'll see you in another video. Great job to Crafty-Hq for not just the game and everyone else that was part of the game, of course, helping develop it, voice actors, but also great job with that audio story, because that audio story was really entertaining to listen to, and it helped kind of like open my eyes a little bit to some parts of the story that I was a bit confused of still from the game. So it was nice to be able to piece that together. I was glad to at least introduce some of it in this video. And with that said, I'll see you in another video. Take care.